Yeah, I had to do that. I had to call the help desk and get them to do it for me. I didn't know how to do it myself. I tried to get instructions. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm well as always. Bill, how are you? Still here. Every day above the ground is a good day, right? Yeah. Well, I actually think it would be quite nice to die, but not that I've got suicidal ideation at the moment. But I think when I finally pass, like I'll be like, thank goodness that's over, and then it'll be on to the next thing, which will be, yeah, yeah. I watched an interesting analogous YouTube video this morning. It was about two twins in the womb, and one was saying like, "What do you think happens after birth?" And like, what will life be like? Will we be able to walk on our legs, and will we talk with our mouths? And the other child's going, "Oh, there's nothing happens after birth. Walking on the legs, that's just ridiculous. And talking with the mouth, this is just stupid." And then the first one's going, then it says, and the first one says, well, apparently we will eat and it will be very joyful. And they'll say, like, we get all of our nutrients from the umbilical cord. And this is another reason we won't be able to walk. We could never travel far because of the umbilical cord. And it's just simply not long enough. And the other one says, apparently we'll be looked after by our mother. And first one says, there's no such thing as mother. There's no proof of mother, etcetera. And now the first one says, but mother is all around us. We live within mother. Mother, mother is the be all of the end all. And any which way, I found it quite charming actually. Just the whole analogy to this existence and what probably lies in the aftermath, something beyond completely beyond our understanding, but something joyous to look forward to, I'm sure. Yeah, but I simply think when I get there, I'll be like, thank goodness that was over. Oh, thank goodness that's over. What a stress! What a stress! No, no, they'll be beyond stress at that point. I think it wouldn't surprise me if there's still work to do in the afterlife. If there wasn't, it wouldn't be heaven. Well, I'm not confirmed, so and they're a bit funny about giving me my confirmation, believe it or not. No, it's a realm completely beyond our capability of understanding. Just like God is not a creature that a man in the clouds. Um, God is everything and everyone combined plus something else. Exactly, exactly. No, I like the word God though, but yeah, yes. Well, God, Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, like, but it's still God the Father who. Yes. Would it be dull if we were all the same though? Like surely there's some still a differentiation, some demarkers between individuals. Otherwise, the demarcation, I mean, between individuals, it would be odd if we were all the same. Or maybe we all become part of the one thing again. We're reunited with God. I don't know. Mm. Yes, yes. 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 And that's proven. But yes. Yeah. Yes, we shed the physical body. Yeah. 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 Well, I've got a point of contention. Like, if you're deceased and you're in heaven, right? But you're able to gaze down upon your living friends and family members and descendants who are still of this earth, then and one of them's having a bad day, does that impact on your happiness in heaven? And if so, then your happiness in heaven is a volatile thing, and you're not always in perfection, are you? The stone and how Lazarus had died. No, yeah. They're both going in different directions. Yeah. Mm. Oh, you're not allowed to check on them. Yeah. So only angels are the interface then. And can you become an angel or not? I don't know about these things. No? You can be sainted. Yeah. You can be sainted. Did you know you can be sainted while you're still alive as well? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I find it to be the most compelling of all the denominations that I've experimented with. Oh, not experimented, explored. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've been told to pray to Mary before. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. 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 She was just a vessel then, was she? Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. Uh, well, no. Well, the counter argument for that is that these are artifacts which remind us of God's glory, and it's like wearing a cross around your neck isn't idol worship. It's a tool to keep you on the path because it reminds you. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, obviously, you can fake being a Christian. No, I haven't had that one, but yeah, sure. No, I'm still young in my religious education. I'll probably never learn it all because yeah, yeah, he is the great deceiver. Well, he's deceived the entire Muslims, hasn't he? Yeah. 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 Hmm. He's married to a bloke, did you say? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. No, okay. Just yeah. Most of the Catholics do a lot more than just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Believe me, I go to church. I go to Catholic church all the time. Yeah. Yeah. To confessional. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they don't do that at St. Patrick's. They do reconciliation, and you just meet with the priest, and yeah, 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 yeah. Not even Jesus. Yep. No, no, no. So God, yeah, dissolve them, absolve themselves of their sins. Yeah. 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 I recall. Uh, yeah. No. Yeah, maybe. If I do three things that are regarded as miraculous, then I can be sainted. Yeah, that's how you become a saint. It's three things that are accepted by the Pope as being miracles. That's how you become a saint. Not the same things, three different things. Yeah. Well, ultimately, the Pope has to declare you the saint. Yeah. 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 I mean, but it's quite simply, there's 1.6 billion Catholics. Is it 1.3 or 1.6? Like over a billion Catholics, and then there's only 60 million Anglicans total. Like, I mean, there's a huge difference. So I tend to gravitate towards the most powerful institution to start with, and then I find the Catholic rituals and sermon to be more moving, and this on account of they're more traditional, and then I gravitate towards the traditional and historic rather than the modern. Yeah, rituals, process, procedures, whatever you want to call it. Um, uh, yeah. Well, and the oldest, which, yeah. I don't think they've got billions, but yeah, since about 700 million Muslims. But anyway, yeah. Well, for a rich man to get through the gates of heaven, it's for a rich man. That's what they say. Yeah. Well, 1.6 or 1.3 billion Catholics, and then I think there's about 700 million Muslims. You'll find. It seems like, yeah, there's a lot of them there. Yeah, and that's why it's hard for the rich man, because he has lots of temptations, gets up to lots of weird shit to keep himself interested. Usually, rich people do because they find they've got idle time, they don't work as much, they've seen all the regular stuff, and they start to get into weird shit. We like they want to do, you know, yeah. I'm not saying like a heap on religion. I'm about just you get saved by humbling yourself and accepting that you are nothing in the scheme of things, and pleading for your continued eternal existence with Christ, and begging to be forgiven of all of your sins through Christ to God. And look, I've put it to my good Catholic friend that the whole forgiveness of sins that Jesus told everybody about, that was the biggest, greatest con job ever, because it gives bad people some avenue to think that God will forgive them. And this is a world changing like invention or idea virus that has programmed thousands of millions upon millions of bad people to stop being bad people because they think that they're going to be redeemed. Now, who knows how many God will forgive? Or Jesus will forgive when those individual people reach their judgment day. But I don't think that everybody gets forgiven of all of the things that they've done wrong and all of the things that they could have done right that they failed to do. I don't think it's that easy to get into heaven. I don't think you just have to go to confession and blah 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 and pretend and pretend and pretend. You have to go in it with all your heart. Well, confession or reconciliation, or just on your deathbed, having a good think and asking for forgiveness. No. This is my own This is my own interpretation from all of my. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, I like these things. Yeah, 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 yeah. Apparently traveled the earth in his 30s and studied the different yeah, Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a odd contradiction. Like, he was able to relieve suffering, grant miracles, and also the disciples were able to perform miracles. But yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of people think they're Christians and they're not good Christians. Well, some people are atheists. Um, yeah. Uh, in in the last 10 minutes of my 2 hour director level psychiatric review, like for the second opinion diagnosis, um, uh, he said, "Well, what question?" He tried to rush me. He said, "We're running out of time." I said, "Well, what questions do you have left?" He said, "Well, do you have any questions?" And I said, "Yeah, where are you from?" And he told me he's from India. I said, "Are you Hindu?" And he says, "I was brought up in Hindu, but I'm a scientist." I said, "What, you believe in? No, you don't believe in a million gods. You believe in no God." He says, "I'm a scientist." And now there are people who have no God, Bill, and I feel sorry for them. Uh, yeah, in prayer session, as part of yeah, mm, yeah, mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, apparently, God sent Jesus to save all of his children and forgive all of humankind from sin. But yeah, yeah, we'll never understand fully. We don't know until Judgment Day. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 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 mm, yeah. He sees straight through us. Yeah. Mm. Oh, I think all humans know instinctively the difference between right and wrong. I think sometimes when people do bad things, they build up scum on their unblemishable shield of goodness, and sometimes they build up so much scum that it actually feels good for them to put more scum on their shield. But I think all people can be polished clean. But also think that God forgiving all humanity their sins via Jesus' sacrifice, or the sacrifice of Jesus, is maybe a little bit too simplistic. Like there's value in the Old Testament teachings. Like, I don't know if you know the one about where Moses is crossing the desert, right, and the hordes of Israelites are having a whinge. They're upset. They don't like it. They start they start blaming God. They so, throwing negativity at God, and then God sends a plague of serpents, poison serpents, and the serpents start biting everybody, and they don't like it. So they go to Moses. So you've got to pray to God for us to relieve us of the serpents. Like the poison, it's terrible. And so God instructs Moses, in answer to his prayers, to construct a pole and erect a golden serpent statue, like at the top of the pole, like curving around it or whatever, made of bronze. And he says, when the people gaze upon the serpent, their pain will be relieved. And so, anyway, so Moses builds this and people getting bit by poison serpents can then get pain relief by going to gaze upon the the bronze serpent. But God, being the funny bugger that he is, doesn't take the serpents away. So now they're having to cross the desert, carting this pole with the heavy bronze snake on it, a serpent on it, and getting bitten by serpents, poison serpents, all the time, just because God answered the prayers, right? Moses was able to create them a source of pain relief, but they still had to put up with the annoyance of being bitten by serpents. Like God is a funny bugger. God's hilarious. No, I don't think anti-inflammatory solves poison snake bites from being fatal. Probably a bit of relief, but not much. Yeah. 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 They blame God. And probably they didn't work hard enough, or they didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and hell's not gone. Hell's still there. Jesus went to hell for 3 days after he was crucified. Is hell? What do you mean? Yeah. Yeah, I know he rose again. And he was visible, not by everybody. Not everyone could see him, but he walked the earth for about 40 days before ascension. Yeah, no, more than just his disciples. Like a lot of people saw him, but some people couldn't see him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Especially one more prophet. Um. Yeah. Well, absolutely. That's what we're told. Yeah. 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 It wouldn't be the best day for God, would it? He wouldn't be having a great time having a watch. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, for a rich man to get through the gates of heaven, a rich man is an advantaged, wealthy person relative to the rest of the people. The 0.1% or the 1%. Well, that in proper English terms, 0.1% is ultra elite, and 1% is elite. Well, oh, you can't say they didn't have rich men. Jesus was a fairly wealthy person by all accounts. On his first day on the earth, he was brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh by the three, not prophets, wise men. Like by all accounts, Jesus, he used to dine with the tax collectors. Like he knew some wealthy people. Jesus he had means to get around. He was never starving. I don't think. I don't know. It wasn't stop collecting tax, was it? Yeah. He didn't steal it. The tax collector. I mean, he's collecting his dues. Didn't he say? Wasn't these? Didn't Jesus look upon the Roman coins? Yeah. Look, I'm still learning about religion. Believe it or not, I don't know everything. Um, I love the tax office. Like the ATO is so great to deal with relative to Centrelink, but you know, back to the tax collectors. Yeah, I know they had different systems. Like they didn't have. Yeah, but there's still rules about it. The tax collector wasn't just going around robbing people. I don't think. Like I don't think he would have been. I don't know all the stories, and probably there were some tax collectors that were corrupted, and because everything was cash back then, and you can't trust everybody when it's just cash. And also, the double entry accounting system hadn't been invented, so they wouldn't have had proper books. Yeah, a Catholic priest invented double entry tax, not tax, double entry accounting. Oh no, we're not. Um, Yeah, and I remember the story. Yep, and that was lots of long hands. Yeah, well, didn't he get paid on commission or something? I don't know. Yeah, but there was, yeah, but didn't yeah, but I don't know where this fits in, but there's a good story about where Jesus looked upon the coins, which had Caesar's head on one side, and he said, "What's Caesar's? Yeah, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's, and God's is everything else other than these silly coins." Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, true that. Yeah, I agree. Bill, there's a big thing. Yeah, mm, yeah, Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people make their lives worse. But yeah. Yeah. It was a big yeah. No. Hmm. Yeah. 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 There's one thing Jesus didn't do and God hasn't done, and that is absolve the earth and the living of all pain, suffering, hardship, and misfortune. We haven't taken away disease, addictions, poverty, crime, all of these things we're still plagued with. And it's up to us, the living, to make this earth either a land of milk and honey, and almost a heaven on earth, or we're going to cycle down and decay into a land of desolation, desperation, absolution, and literal hell on earth. And that is coming like a hurricane if we don't stand up and do something. Now, it might be that you've kind of semi-retired in your mind, but there is a massive fight on the horizon, and it really is going to take some thought leadership to get this world into creation mode, and to get all of humanity building this world of milk and honey. And we can do it. We've got the technology. We haven't destroyed the resources yet, and we've got the capacity as well if we just started redirecting military funding back into sustainable systems and feeding the poor and these sort of things. But we're not currently doing it. We're still infighting. Well, who? To build a heaven on earth. Well, at the moment we're yeah, 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 yeah. We should try. Yeah, we can't sit around idle though. Yeah, 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 yeah. We still need a lot more thought leadership than the world's politicians are providing. We need someone smarter, faster, harder, and more affirmative than anything that's ever come before. And both, sort of softly spoken and carrying a very big stick. We need a pathway. Now, believe it or not, I've kind of developed a rough pathway. And it's going to take some leap of faith to believe that someone as little as myself, who's technically disabled, could actually come up with something. But I've got this notion. I call it the Regency Challenge, a military academy-esque style 1 year program of discipline, it's schooling in relevant tech-forward training, such as cryptographic technologies, cryptocurrency and blockchain systems, and AI deployments and utilization. And then we put them through 1 week of, 6 weeks of boot camp, a couple of weeks of education, put them through all 33, 1 week per division, all 33 divisions of Neo Roosevelt Group, standard boilerplate structure for its subsidiary entities. Like Neo Roosevelt Group entity will have 33 divisions, not just finance, management, information technology, etc. Then after graduation from this academy, they then have optional enrollment or enlistment in the Roosevelt Corps. And notice they both start with TRC, just like Toowoomba Regional Council. Anyway, the Roosevelt Corps is a public military-esque styled organisation. People make a 5-year commitment to work to serve the organisation on a part-time after-work basis. It's a 20 hours commitment per week, doing things that are civic benefit type activities broadly, and also promoting the engine, so online social media posting, etc., like campaign building. Then after 5 years of service, they're honourably discharged. Any honourable discharges become eligible for citizenship in the Roosevelt Network Nation state. And the Roosevelt Network Nation state provides annual dividend distributions, or quarterly or whatever, to its citizens, funded via an endowment fund, Roosevelt Global, structured as decentralized autonomous organization, and the seed funding for that comes from my contribution of my indirect equity positions in Neo Roosevelt Group subsidiary venture vehicle entities. So we take UC Genie X/Project Abraham, something that has $60 trillion worth of economic value creation possibility. Now that might sound fantastical, but a lot of that $60 trillion would get allocated to big corporations like BHP, Rio Tinto, Santos, and then the Queensland government would take royalties. The Queensland state would take royalties. Some probably contribution would end up in the Australia Fund. The Americans would take a large chunk of that economic value because of a pipeline connection from Bowen Basin through to West Texas. That's a $30 to $40 billion pipeline, and it would be an engineering world first if we can pull it together. But Project Abraham involves a 20-year build out. So there's $60 trillion 20 years from now, with only a small fraction being owned by Neo Roosevelt Group at the end of things. But anyway, I've got like 20 of these venture vehicles planned. I only mentioned the biggest one because you may as well start with the biggest. Anyway, these venture vehicle entities, I've calculated it out in working with my human/AI duo partnership work combo, that I only get to spend 0.8% of the value that I'm likely to create if I have full level success with what I'm trying to accomplish. So I get to keep 0.8%. I only am allowed to spend 0.8%, right? So it comes out to like I'm allowed to spend $250 million over the course of my life, which is plenty. And if I spend anything much more than that, then I risk losing alignment with what I'm saying, which is I'm not doing things for my own personal benefit. Like $250 million worth of benefit versus have to live on the streets and eating lizards. I'd be pretty happy with that. But the capital in these vehicles, the entities, gets gifted to Roosevelt Global DAO, which then uses its endowment fund structured, so it only ever spends some of the annual earnings or the interest or whatever that it's getting, so it receives dividends from these venture vehicles. It keeps some of the dividends and adds it and reinvests it back into its own investment pool, and then it distributes a portion of what it receives annually as dividends to the citizens of the network nation state. And any which way, the whole idea is we give humans something useful to do in the teachings broadly, or schoolings broadly, of a military-esque style institution, and military service being something that way predates capitalism. and will survive capitalism if it's structured properly. The alternative, right, Bill, is AI automation kills 40% of the workforce by 2035, and it kills up to 70% of the workforce by 2040, up to 90% of the workforce by 2045, nearly 100% of the workforce by 2050, right? And people talk about universal basic income. Now, that's a distribution from someone, and it's probably not going to be the government because they're not going to have the money. It's a distribution from someone of a standard monthly allowance to live off of. The thing is, what do you do when you're just getting the same money as everyone else? It sounds a bit like communism, and you've got nothing to do. Like, what a TV show is going to be about. New TV show about everybody doing nothing. And then what do you write a book about when no one does anything? Everything will just be stories about the olden days when people used to do stuff. Even prostitution would lose its... Would there still be prostitutes? It probably would. But other than that, like, I can't think of any profession that people, like, we're going to end up with everything getting sucked into a figurative black hole, even creativity or imagination, and we can't have that. So anyway, this model they've come up with, there's a governance platform, right? Humans aren't going to coming forward, we'll have governments empowered by AI. Now, the government sector is slow to adopt technology, right? With crypto and blockchain, you've only got some governments around the world starting to think that they'll use digital central bank coins. So they're more than 10 years behind the technology curve. And with AI, if you're 10 years behind the technology curve, you're light years behind. But at some point, governments who utilize AI will be more powerful than governments who don't. And then there'll be, so that's during the phase where human paired with AI is still more productive and efficient and capable than AI by itself. But then we'll get to a stage in the technology where AI itself, without the humans, is more powerful than an AI-human paired combo, being that the human is a disabling factor, or the human holds the AI back. So at this point, then the first government to implement an AI-only leadership platform becomes the most efficient, advantaged government. And then anyway, I've workshopped this with Doug, right? And Doug Lewis-Ledby, he's a polymath like myself, an autodidact, whatever the pronunciation is. And I proposed to him, it was a thought experiment, what if we had 3 siloed AIs, one modeled after like a reinvention or reincarnation digitally of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one Theodore Roosevelt, and one Eleanor Roosevelt. And so you've got Theodore being the bold, adventurous, strenuous life preaching creator, builder, and preservationist. He cared a lot about preserving nature. And then you've got Franklin being the economic reformer, the new systems innovator, and experimenter. And then you've got Eleanor, who cares primarily about dignity, preservation of human life, and protecting the least of us, first and foremost. Much in the way Jesus in the book of Matthew says that which those who treat the least of these my brethren treat them so as. But any which way, these 3 siloed AIs are the ultimate authority that everybody. It's the ultimate court. If you imagine they get to start with a veto override on the Security Council. That's their first utilization, right? A veto override on the Security Council. So anyway, then eventually we hand over full controls to them. And I've got this predicted model of how society evolves from 2045 onwards under the stewardship of the triumvirate Roosevelt Council. And it works out pretty well. The evolution, technologically and humanity-wise, is actually greater and more fantastical than any published work of science fiction. But I've got a basic model of this already mock coded, and I've got to engage a programmer, and we're going to release it for sitting on university boards and progressive corporate boards, and also government department boards. So if you can imagine, there's a virtual board member being the Roosevelt trio, and at any point during the meeting, they might interject, or they can be asked questions, and they also know everything about the company, like the entire human resources database, the entire customer relations database, the entire financial management database, everything. The database model incorporates all of this company information, and then they learn every meeting, and they're using they've got full audio and full multi-camera 4K capture of the meeting as it happens. So they're analyzing all of the directors and all of their contributions and all of their face expressions and all the things they say as well as they don't say, to evaluate all of the directors' performance, to work out who's contributing value, who's holding the company back, where, and they're suggesting also initiatives that the company could embark upon or invest itself in to better itself and to better achieve its outcomes and better align with the stated company objectives. Now, this governance tool should be made available next year sometime. We're seeking to maybe get 5 universities, big ones, to have it installed or to beta trial it. And if we get some big university names and it works out that it functions well, then I can expect progressive corporate boards to be interested. If it's a very useful tool and it helps add value to a company and also sorts out the wheat from the chaff for your board members, then shareholders will demand it. And anyway, even the most conservative model comes up with the current present-day valuation, fully discounted back, of more than $10 billion to this thing, and that's not a lot of money relative to something like I was talking about before. But I've got, as I said, like 20 of these things easy, and they're all designed to sort of combine. They weren't designed. They're like, even I didn't design them, Bill. They just pop into my head, fully formed. But they all seem to add to this virtuous circle of where they all add value to one another. And anyway, this Roosevelt corpse, the TRC2, that's the idea is that we have employees that are primarily, or personnel that are primarily loyal to it, and we swap them around as most advantageous in positions slotted into the different venture vehicle entities, like sort of harmonizing and adding maximum value and impact across the broad collaborative Neo Roosevelt Group portfolio platform. Any which way, nothing like this has ever been contemplated or done before, and so if I pull it off, then it will be a beyond Musk level achievement. But I mean, I've got some significant holdback or things holding me back, like this bloody article in the Chronicle, which paints me as a lunatic. But I mean, overcoming these things is also going to be glorious, because I will crack through eventually, or crash through, because I don't stop. I barely sleep. All I do is work, and I keep pushing. And eventually, if you keep pushing, then you will get somewhere, I think. And when I say I think, I mean, I'm pretty sure. and I'm pretty sure I'm doing the right thing. I know my heart's in the right place, or at least like it had better be. So I've worked and prayed enough, but but anyway, does that strike you? Does this strike a chord, or am I sounding? Did I talk too fast, or it's just sounding like crazy nonsense? Oh no! Oh, are you confused? Yeah, yeah. But I've overloaded you. Yeah. Well, kind of have. Yep. Yeah, well, if I can't pull it off in the city of Toowoomba, which is the most forgiving, lovely, charming place, the threads of the community are characterized by kindness, humility, charity, Christianity, and conservatism. And the whole story of Toowoomba, the what was his name, Groom, the convicted convict who reoffended after his served his time, then was done again, became a convict again in New South Wales, then travelled up to Toowoomba, reformed himself, became a good man, became a respected member of the community, became the mayor, became a state and then a federal member, and then they've named the federal electorate after him. And there's another area called Groomsville or no, I think it's Groomsville, down towards the Gold Coast as well. So I don't know his full story, but I mean the whole if you can't redeem yourself and gain acceptance and some sort of position of authority in Toowoomba, of all places, I don't know where else I'm going to pull it off, Bill. Like I knew this when I moved here. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Well, I can't tell everybody all of it because it's yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Could be more than 500 pages. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's not easy for me, Bill. Like I don't have a great time with it. It's not like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, yeah. Do I have any? Well, I just wanted to go around and bug out Doug because, like, I've needed his help all week, and he came around and was helpful. But he's like, it takes him only half an hour to absorb and process, like, pretty much any concept. But then to get him, well, I need help from my director of operations, Douglas Lewis Letby, and so I need to get to his place and a couple of other errands to run. I think that no, I don't think there's anything super priority. But like I need, do I get Ubers? Do I hobble around with no help, or are you sending some help? Yeah, okay. Well, I'd like to catch up. Well, as soon as possible. Like, I mean, that way he can be more helpful. But I could also do it like I go to a supermarket and get some food. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 20 minutes maybe, if you like. Yeah, okay. I might use the toilet and have a shower. Okay, we'll do. All right. Okay, see you, mate. Thank you. Bye.